Hello and welcome, I'm Ken Gowdy, and in this tutorial we will look at growling. Before we discuss how to growl, let's first discuss how to produce an ordinary note. We do this by blowing a steady, constant airstream into the saxophone. We will represent this as a steady line on this graph. This airstream enters the saxophone and causes the reed to vibrate, which in turn produces the sound. This sound is shaped by our throat, our embouchure, the fingerings we use, plus other factors. One of the reasons we spend time practicing long tones is to develop the ability to produce a steady stream of air which does not waver, which in turn will produce a steady note. However, to produce a growl, we must not produce a steady stream of air, but rather an oscillating or distorted airstream. When this oscillating airstream causes the reed to vibrate, the two waveforms are added together to produce a distorted sound, or in other words, it produces a growl. It will be at the same pitch as the ordinary note, but will sound distorted. The only thing that you need to bear in mind is that if this oscillating airstream is at the same pitch as the note you're trying to produce, then a growl will not be produced. So always blow into the saxophone an oscillating airstream that is of a different pitch than the note that you want to produce. The lower the better, though whichever pitch you choose to use will have an effect on the quality of the growl. Also, once you have chosen the pitch to use as your oscillating airstream, it is usually best not to change that pitch throughout the playing of the notes you want to growl. So the question facing us is, how do we produce an oscillating airstream? Well, an oscillating airstream is basically a sound, a note, or a tone. So all that we need to do is to use our voice, our throat, our mouth, or our tongue to produce a sound. We blow that sound into the saxophone while playing a note. Now the sound that we blow into the saxophone while playing a note will change the note that we're actually playing and change it, distort it into a growl. Now, as you are aware, there are many ways we can use our voice, our throat, our mouth, or our tongue to produce a sound. And because there are so many ways in which we can produce a sound which we can blow into the saxophone, there are many ways in which we can actually produce a growl. The different methods that we use to produce a sound then produces a different type of growl. So let's look at these different methods that we can use to produce a growl. The first method that I like to explain is the humming method. So basically what we're going to do is to hum a sound and blow that sound into the saxophone with sufficient air to cause the reed to vibrate. Now, humming is something that we're not used to with blowing air out at the same time. So we're going to have to get used to the sensation of humming and blowing air at the same time. To get used to this sensation, there are two ways how you can actually practice it. You can first hum and then increase your airflow until the reed vibrates. Or you can blow air out, cause the reed to vibrate, and then add a hum to it to distort the sound and turn it into a growl. The second method is the singing method. This is something that we're more accustomed to doing because when we sing, our mouth is open and air comes out. But this time, we're just going to make sure that sufficient air comes out to cause the reed to vibrate. So you're going to sing a note into the saxophone while playing a note, and that will cause a growl. The next method I call the cat hiss because it sounds like a cat hissing. So what you're going to do is make a sound with the back of your tongue and your top palate, and it's going to be like a guttural, spitty kind of sound. So it's going to sound like that. If you blow that into the saxophone, it will produce a growl. The next method I call a horse blow because it sounds like when a horse is blowing out air. It sounds like this. It's basically a tongue flutter. You flutter your tongue and that will cause a vibrating airstream, an oscillating airstream to cause a growl. The next method is to growl. So you can actually produce a growl by growling into the saxophone. So when you're playing a note, you will growl. A strong guttural back of the throat type of growl. This type of method, I would say that you should use with caution. I stay clear of it because as soon as I start to growl, it causes me to cough. It blows out my throat. My throat gets sore and then I lose my voice, but maybe it will work for you. The next method is a tongue roll, where you roll your tongue, as in other languages such as Spanish, when a Spanish person will roll their R's. So it sounds like this. So you're going to roll a note into the saxophone and that will produce a growl. The next method I've written down is a combination, which is basically using two of these methods to produce a growl. So maybe humming and doing a tongue roll at the same time, or choosing two different ones and then merging them together. And lastly, I've got the category of other, because there are other ways to produce a sound with your throat, mouth, tongue, or voice. And obviously you can try and experiment to produce your own unique type of growl. If you find you're having difficulties producing a growl, don't worry too much about it. Not everybody gets it the first time, but if you continue to practice at it, you will eventually get it. There are a few things that you can bear in mind, such as what was said before. Don't blow a sound into the saxophone that is at the same pitch as the sound coming out of it. So bearing in mind that the saxophone is a transposing instrument, so if you finger an A on an alto sax, then the sound coming out of the saxophone will be a C. So therefore don't blow a sound into the saxophone which is at the pitch of a C, because obviously you'll be blowing in the same pitch as what is trying to come out and you won't get a growl. The second thing that you can try and do is to vary the pitch of the sound that you're actually blowing into the saxophone. Maybe lower the pitch, and then you may find that the growl will come out, or maybe make the pitch more forceful by blowing more air into the saxophone. The last thing that you could do is possibly change the position of your tongue. Maybe make your tongue in a flatter position, then maybe that will help you to get the growl coming out. So that was two examples of growling, the humming method and the rolling of the tongue method. Some people say that they can't roll their tongues, but it's just a matter of practice. What I try to do in such a way so that you can actually hear the oscillating airstream that I'm blowing into the saxophone, and then begin to hear the growling taking place. Obviously, when you do it, the growling has to happen immediately when you blow into the saxophone. If you're into growling, if that's your thing, maybe you want to play some rock and roll, then obviously you're going to have to listen to some artists, listen to how they growl, and listen to when they apply the growling to their music. Obviously, if you alter the oscillating airstream that you blow into the saxophone, you're obviously going to alter the type of growl that you get out. So if you make your oscillating airstream deeper or more forceful, that's going to actually affect the growl which comes out. Lastly, let me say thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. If you did, then obviously give it a like, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.